Welcome to the Proptech Pulse podcast, your inside look at the world of real estate technology. I'm your host, Kyle Hunter, here to guide you through the latest trends, expert insights, and game-changing tech shaping the real estate world. This is your go-to source for staying ahead of the ever-evolving industry. Let's dive in. Welcome to Proptech Pulse. I'm super excited to have a very special guest today, Nick Boyd, the CEO of Belle Properties, all the way from Australia.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yeah. We were just talking about it's a long ways from Australia all the way to Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's a long, long way.
Oh, good deal. Well, Nick, I'd love to hear a little bit about, your experience in Australia and running a very large company in, down under. And
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so it's a company that we've been around for about a little over 20 years in Australia. It's been grown across sort of a dining room table by our founder, Peter Hanscom. And then I joined in at about 11 years ago. And we now, fast forward, we've got 211 offices, about 3,500 people. The great thing is that we're now the largest national premium network in the country. So we've got the highest average sale price. We're transacting in the vicinity of about $20 billion per annum in AUD. But ultimately those numbers are driven by our philosophy, which is what we call fewer, better people. And that's really something that we've championed from the very start. It hasn't changed through that growth. But what it comes down to is productivity. That's really the game.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had the pleasure of meeting Peter a few times.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not in Australia, but he always comes here.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, he's definitely grown a great company. And so, obviously this being Proptech Pulse, I'd love to understand, what are some of the differences? Like, what are some of the technology tools that you use in Australia and your real estate brokerage, different than maybe what's in the US?
Yeah, it's a great question. I found it really interesting because that's why I really have come here to kind of really explore the differences. The thing that stood out to me is that there's a lot of talk around AI, and that's very true. What I'm sensing is, though, it depends on the data you're putting in, and is it meaningful? Is it complete? And so I think the lesson that we focused in on about 5 years ago was completeness of data, because it doesn't matter what tool you put in place if the data is not complete. So we've really focused in on the obviously the CRM world to say, how do we actually have the universal contact record, like one individual view of an individual? That's something we've focused on from the very start as soon as we could. Then we're also driven by, big marketing sort of platforms. So, Canva Enterprise is a part of our social size. We also have another marketing platform that's in play that's only Proptech within Australia. And that allows our agents and us to scale at a really rapid rate for both print, brochures, signboards, and everything. It's all in one house. So there's a lot of similarities to America in that sense. But I think what's really resonating with me being over here is the fact that the importance on data is becoming such an integral conversation at an agent level, whereas before it probably wasn't so. Because I think agents are very much 90 days focused, sort of like do a deal, get paid. And I reckon I resonate with that. I was an agent for 9 years. So I appreciate where they're at, but it's then second to that to go, okay, well, they're starting to have a longer view. And the longer view is, if I can't do a deal with you today, I need to be ready to do a deal with you in the next decade. And I think that's the world we're moving into.
Yeah, we were just having a conversation about the importance of data. Garbage in, garbage out, just like you said. You have to really have it in a location. And for nowadays, for AI to be effective, you have to really, the system has to use data. And so having that in one place is very important for the brokerage. And, as agents come and go, the ability to kind of contain that and have all of that in one place, is obviously very important.
Yeah. We've been working on that sort of individual record view for the best part of 6 to 7 years. So we've now got sort of established currently over 3 to 4 million individual contact records, but they've got 14 relationship points that's identified to each. And so that's allowing us to be able to provide to our agents really meaningful insights so that when a buyer walks through an open home, a bit different from America where it's sort of through the buyer's agents mainly, but with our open homes, when they walk through, our agents are able to be armed to know a little bit about you before you enter, so that you can have a more meaningful conversation, building trust faster. And in our eyes, if you build trust, you get a better premium result.
Yeah, no, that's super important. Speaking of open houses and buyers, that obviously in the US, there's MLSs. In Australia, there's not MLSs.
No.
But you do have portals. We
yeah.
have portals also, but I'd love to understand, how your buyers and sellers, like, how are you finding them connected? How do you make that work?
So I think we need to fundamentally break down first how our market works, where buyers agents are becoming a more integral part of our environment. But 10 years ago, buyers agents did not exist, roughly. So an agent would look after both the listing and the sale side for buyers. So that's been historically our environment and working very well doing that. But probably 20 years ago, we were mainly in print in advertising. And as an industry, all the agents, we were up in arms. Print's too expensive. And then there was the birth of portals. And so they came in, and the pricing of portals at that point in time were pennies on the dollar in comparison to print.
A lot cheaper.
Yeah. But with digital scale and the demise in some markets of print, there was a monopoly emerging. And so we've got 2 major portals in play right now in Australia. And, you can have a listing that has to be put up online that can cost up to $6,000.
Wow.
To put a listing online. And if you look at that compared to anywhere else in the world, it's very different. Now, the only reason that is possible is this beautiful word called VPA, vendor paid advertising. The vendor pays. Predominantly, the vendor is picking up the bill of the marketing. And agents in Australia have got very, very good at selling not only their services, their strategy, their skill set to get a great price, but it is as much about getting a vendor to invest in the process as well, which is again very different to America. I think that's been one of the catalysts why with Belle Property and Hocking Stewart, our other brands, we've been very focused on our own guardrails, our own data set, because I look at it saying, if we're selling 16,000 homes a year, and we're meeting physically 55,000 people every single month that walks through our open homes, there's a huge pool of people that we're not selling to, but are interacting with us. Why don't I introduce them to our future sellers? And starting internally, like, why can't we? And so we've been actively pursuing that sort of strategy to provide choice to our vendors. We've been in a situation with our scale now that it's been quite successful, but we still definitely see value with portals. I still think there is a value with portals where they do want to come back and create a listing to an open market. So there's value there, but we're now saying to a vendor, you've got a few stages to go through. It's up to you, your choice. If they're needing to expedite time, fantastic. Let's just cast a wide net. But if you want to be a bit more strategic, let's just actually introduce some people we know. And it's been very successful.
Yeah, that's a lot of people, 55,000 going through open houses. So there's a lot of interest there, I guess.
Yeah, Australians are property obsessed. So it's like, there was a stat I was reading in a paper in Australia, and it was like there are 3 conversations across most dining room tables. One of them is at a dinner party. It's definitely property. Second is schooling, and the third is your holidays. So it's always been up there, and it's something that we're an expensive country if you look at it from the outside, because I think people have such an affinity to property right now in Australia. It's becoming more, unfortunately, more than just bricks and mortar and a home and a shelter. There's investors flooding into the market still, but inflation still has its problems.
Enjoying the Proptech Pulse podcast? Don't miss a beat. Hit the subscribe button and stay in the loop with all of our latest episodes. And hey, if you're loving the content, leave us a review. It really helps us grow and reach more real estate pros like you. Also, don't forget to follow us on our social channels. We're sharing tips, trends, and behind-the-scenes content you won't want to miss. Find us on all the social platforms at Get Elwolf. So what are you seeing your buyers and sellers that are transacting? Like, what kind of technologies are they using and interacting with? And how does that relate to, your agents doing business?
Yeah, so when a buyer comes through an open home with us, because we run basically 30-minute open homes. Mm-hmm. So it's what I call compression selling. Mm-hmm. So if we're releasing a property onto market, we'll advertise it. It still might be print, might be portals, might be our websites, our emails, our distribution lists. We then say, okay, on Saturday, I'll be there from 10 to 10:30. Come along. And the buyer comes direct. But also buyers' agents come direct. So we'll have buyers, agents, everyone walking through an open home that lasts for 30 minutes. So we can condense 10, 20, up to 70 people in a home for 30 minutes.
Wow.
And that compression selling creates competition. Now, when you think about having to manage that amount of people, we do it through an app that we can then basically just take records and it caches whether they exist in the data already, so that we can expedite that, saying, great, fantastic, welcome, come on through, I've already got your details. We then go, we rely heavily on the CRM. So we then, come a Sunday or a Saturday afternoon, the callbacks start, we're starting to actually build a relationship of interest. Do they hold interest or not? If they don't, we send them down another path to work out whether they are actually serious or not. Are they just window shopping, or are they actually going to be purchasing in the next 30 to 60 days? If they are, then we take them down a pathway that's a bit more focused around their tailored needs. If they're still in the window shopping phase, it's going to be a bit more softer sort of journey that they go down. So we're starting to get to an enterprise level now of how we actually communicate to them. And where we're going in the future, it's to really expedite that and help our agents from a corporate level.
Yeah, that's neat. So really giving them tools and helping them put the right person on the right path for marketing to get them to come back and actually do the transaction and business with you.
Because the worst thing is, if you think about it, like 210 offices, there's multiple millions of people in the databases. Now, originally those databases were individual. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at it going, what's the probability of a buyer that is sitting in upwards of 10 of our offices' databases? There's a high probability. And then you've got 10 lots of problems. There's 10 lots of communication. Mm-hmm. And so now we're moving to a world that we believe our corporate role is to uphold the trust value of the brand. Mm-hmm. So we can communicate to segmented markets of buyers or sellers or whoever to demonstrate the value of our brand. And that can be done through content creation. We've got a content creation business as well. And then second to that, what we want our agents to do, and what they do very well, is formalize the relationship. Mm-hmm. So get close to them, get to know them as an individual, so that when you're in front of them, the agent is still the core focus and the core of, I guess, the industry. We just see ourselves now in a world where we're the support act. And I love that, because if I can have more agents walk in and have more meaningful conversations, I'm going to beat my competitors.
You're doing your job.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's, what I kind of picked up is data governance, like making sure that things are, being done right. Yeah. Going back to the earlier conversation about it's only as good as the data that you're, using and playing with. So if you are, have a great set of data, you're able to help curate that from a brokerage standpoint. You're allowing the agents to go out and do what they should be doing and what they do best anyway.
Absolutely.
Making those relationships, having a tight, understanding of what the buyer and seller needs are, and
it's so
ultimately, selling real estate.
Exactly. I think the worst thing you can ever do is get in the way of a real estate agent, of what they are designed to do. So everything we do, or everything we think about doing as a future project, it's got to be measured by that. It's got to say, is this actually helping the agent or the broker, or is it just creating another step? Because if it creates another step, it's a fail.
It's a fail.
And so my entire corporate team, it's constantly focused around, okay, what's happening to an agent today? what are the challenges and pain points they have, how many steps are involved in those challenges and pain points, and what can we do to solve it. If you look at it through that, whether it's tech or anything, I think you'll find a solution that's quite meaningful. And then it also has to just be measured by the consumer. What do they require? And so far we're on that journey, and the results are starting to speak, which is fantastic. But I still think we're only getting started. It's where we're heading next is going to be very exciting.
So let me pick up on that. When you are looking around at kind of the problems you're looking at today, what kind of technology that are you missing? Or what do you think that if you were a coder or you were to put a great AI and say, I want to build this, like what kind of thing could help go and support the direction that you're going in?
Absolutely workflow. Okay. Workflow for me, and don't get me wrong, there are some products out there around workflow. We actually have a few that are in play within our network. But ultimately, the amount of times I've been sold to saying, this workflow piece is going to reduce the amount of hours required by personnel. Mm-hmm. And it looks good when that's on an Excel spreadsheet, but when you put it into practice, what usually happens in a brokerage is they put it in play, they do the training, the onboarding, and then they have to offshore and get VAs to uplift and pick up the extra steps that were actually involved. Mm-hmm. So for me, I don't think workflow is there yet, but what we're working on, I think it will be. Ultimately, administration in a business has become so complex. I mean, I've got five different sets of legislation that we need to adhere to in different states, mm-hmm. which have an impact on the workflow in all of those businesses. So if I can provide a meaningful solution around the administration component of any office that's in our network in any state under any legislation, where it doesn't require the amount of people, that is actually a really positive thing. Now, it's not saying that, we're just going to go and get rid of people. It's not that at all. It's actually to say if I can improve efficiency and productivity, I can do more and keep all the people I've got. Because when I started real estate 24 years ago, we had, it was one administrator could look after 250 files. Okay, and 250 sales from start to finish. Now I look at it, I think the industry's gone below 100 because there are so many steps.
So much more.
There's so much more. Plug this in, plug that in. Yeah. So I really do feel that the ones who are going to absolutely crush it in the future are going to be the ones that have a really stern, hard look in the mirror and go, you know what? I think we've added steps that we don't need. Yeah. And so I sit down with my team. I did it literally just before I got on a plane here to Vegas. And I spent a whole day with my operations team. And we had this big folder of 500 points. And I said, great, do you know it like the back of your hand? They said, yeah. I said, cool. How much of it's relevant and how much are we going to throw out? And they just had this look of terror on their face. But I said, because ultimately it comes down to two things. Are we doing this because it's just obligation? It's because we've always done it this way? Or is it more to do with it's strategic and critical to the development of these people that we're trying to serve? If it's just obligation, I'm going to question it. Mm-hmm. And we started going through that process. We're not there yet, but that's, I think, the governing step towards answering workflow problems in these businesses.
Yeah. I mean, with over 220 offices and 5 states and all the different regulations, you have a lot to really deal with. So the more streamlining, the more ability for you to repurpose some of those folks to do more, revenue generation activities. Exactly. And, instead of doing all that paperwork.
Exactly right.
Get it back to 250.
100%. 100%. 500. That's what I want.
500. There you go. Well, one last question. I'd love to understand, what do you think the real estate market's going to do in 2026?
Wow. That's a big question because there is so much going on. You can't look anywhere without some form of news that will either excite you or depress you. So I've kind of shut that all out. Ultimately, if I look in Australia being so obsessed with property, I do feel it is still going to remain completely robust and actually move through. Our cost of living, though, is a real thing. I've just got to acknowledge that. In some markets like Sydney in Australia, the average mortgage is now becoming 13 times the average annual salary. Like 13 times. It's one of the most expensive markets in the world. So that to me is a problem, is an issue. The one thing though is the housing supply is so undersupplied that the pricing, it may not reflect even if they put interest rates up, which they have been doing. The more the interest rates go up, I believe what's going to happen is it's going to segment or separate between the wealth and everyone else. So I'm happy around, is it going to be a great outcome for the industry? Will they do well? Yes. But I do want to acknowledge the cost of living pressure in Australia and the world, where I think there's a lot that hasn't been answered yet. And I think everyone's trying their best. But ultimately, what we can control is what we can control. Yeah. So I'm just going to basically support agents as best as I can to do their best.
Well, Nick, it's been a pleasure having you on, and love learning more about Australian real estate and Belle Properties.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to the Proptech Pulse podcast. Looking to take your real estate game to the next level? Check out our cutting edge tools. Visit lwolf.com to learn more and see how we can help you succeed. I'm your host, Kyle Hunter, and I'll catch you next time as we continue exploring the future of real estate together. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected. Until then, keep innovating and thriving in the world of real estate.